Welcome to Bubble Tea Time. Thank you again for joining us this week. We'll be looking at the matches from the previous week, along with the highlights, and our analysts and our special guests will be giving predictions for the following week. I'm your host, Adam, aka Digital Feeling, and I'm joined by our analyst desk once again, Brian Decadonu, Colin Zoidberg, MD, and Daniel, aka Dans. Welcome again, guys.
Welcome. Thanks, man.
What's
Glad to be here.
It's so nice to see y'all once again. Coming into another week of BTL and some amazing games, and we're joined today by our special guest Anna, Skysong, Anna aka Skysong. Sorry about that, Anna.
Sure. Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us, and really appreciate your time. On Twitch, if you have any questions for Anna or you have any questions for the analysts in general, please go ahead and put them in, and our producer will go ahead and gather them. Let's get right into it and start looking at the games that we were played this week and see who won and lost. We're going to start off with Executive Order versus Deep Dive with an Executive Order win, and we'll go right into the clip for this week.
This game was a banger from start to finish, and here's just like one of the more representative clips. This one's a really back and forth fight that results in a 4v3, or a 4-for-3. Jack Limestone gets dove here, but is able to kite away, and this huge slippers ult into E kills two people, but he hits the plant, and then it's kind of a lost fight from there.
Whew.
Yeah, this game was quite exciting to watch back and forth among the AD carries. Just how big they were getting.
Yeah, it was honestly hard to pick a clip because there are so many like pop off clips from both teams. Yeah, it was a fun game. And Anna, I guess Anna, since you're the one that was in the game, at the wheel, how'd you feel about like, the back and forth nature of that game? Obviously it was like a little bit like in the end, Executive Order was able to like outscale and then find the fights they needed. But up to that point, and even at that point, like how did you guys feel going through that game? What went through your heads?
It definitely kept us on the edge of our seats. We were trying to play very cohesively, trying to make a good plays, trying to take advantage of any openings that we could find across the map. But yeah, going back and forth, it was really hard kind of to regulate. Okay, we did something good, great, and then something bad happened. It's like, all right, let's move from that, let's keep it together, and then come back, take something else from that.
Awesome. Yeah, your games have been Deep Dive's games have been really competitive. And like, in the end, like it hasn't been closed out like super cleanly. Is that something that you guys are, like really focused on? Because I think like, obviously your record isn't amazing, but you guys have like really like pushed other teams to the edge. And like, I mean, yeah, this game, like Jack had like 26 kills, so like you guys are definitely in it and scrapping the whole way. What do you think is like the secret, the key to like pushing it over the edge and like starting to like make a deep run of it? For the record, Deep Dive is the legacy team that actually did make a deep run of it in season 3. They went like 1-5 in the regular season and then ended up winning the whole thing. So
yeah,
definitely not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I think every week has shown us something that we can definitely improve and learn from, and we're trying to integrate that into our playstyle. I think we are still figuring out who we are as a team, and when we get that, I would say watch out to everyone else who's playing against us because we'll be coming for you.
Ooh.
Still got a game against them, so I'll take that as a challenge.
That's ominous.
Definitely one of the most exciting games. As an ADC, I've really appreciated it. Amazing plays by everybody. It was truly like back and forth, and it's amazing to see how much you can carry with so many kills. But let's move on to our next game, which is going to be Milwaukee Bucks baby versus MBS. Let's go straight into the clip, and Colin, would you want to commentate over this?
Sure.
Yeah, wow. Rub it in. Rub that salt in.
No, I mean it was a tough game for us. We had a last minute substitution with, quite frankly, like one of like our shot caller being out of the game, so it made it a little bit of a difficult game for us.
Oriole.
That
Nice
Oriole
angle.
is amazing. Yeah, we tried to scrap as hard as we could to stay in it, but at the end of the day, just wasn't enough. Milwaukee Bucks is a good team, and they showed up.
We saw that the execution of this comp was well, especially in that clip. We saw the combination of an Ori ult, a Malphite ult, um, and it just really coming together. And from Colin giving us the insight, not having the shot caller there may have made the difference. Um, uh, it's interesting to see what could be done against a very intentioned comp. Dan's or Brian's, would you want to comment on uh, just what it takes for a shot caller to make a comp like that work?
A lot of it is team unity. Like being able to like not just make a call, but having the whole team respond effectively and being in the right position.
Yeah, it was a bit of feels bad for us. We feel like we've really like come together as a team over the last few weeks with some of our role swaps and losing out on one of our more vocal players right at the last second definitely threw us for a loop, and we just weren't able to recover this week.
Very awesome. Let's go ahead and move on to our next matchup, which is Acid Rapids versus the Good Boys, which I think was definitely a highlight game and a very unanticipated win, except for
All
only
the
one
analysts-
person
Say that
predicted.
all the analysts predicted the Good Boys to win. There was only one idiot that didn't.
But I think the majority of the populace were very questioning of why we chose the Good Boys, especially with the undefeated record, as you pointed out last week. Let's go ahead and roll the clip and see kind of what went on.
I mean, I think Ollie played
Yeah,
such a brilliant game.
Watch the Cho'Gath. Look at this knockup. Oh, into 3-man silence. Oh my lord. Yeah, Ollie was nuts this game. Shout out to Hungaroni, who was also really nuts in the early game.
Whew.
Yeah, ooh, get him.
Get him.
Yeah, Ollie was insane this game. Yeah, like the team really like put it together in the mid game. And Oliver just kind of like won every team fight. It was pretty impressive. I
It's a-
think like, oh, go ahead.
No, go for it. Sorry.
We were saying how like AR as a team is a really solid team that doesn't make very many mistakes. But some of their weaknesses or vulnerabilities are in like perceived like lack of like proactiveness. I think GB really like pushed the envelope on them. And like caught them out in like positions where they didn't expect like an aggressive team to be. So Oliver would just kind of like run face first as like Cho'Gath and get like big 3-man knockups and stuff like that. Yeah, so like I think the Good Boys really showed like a really interesting draft that a lot of us were questioning when they were coming into it, but as the game went on, the Cho'Gath was kind of unstoppable, and then the Kai'Sa just didn't have the strength. Like even though she came out of lane phase like 4-0 or something, she didn't really have the strength to burn through the Cho'Gath before the Cho'Gath knocked up their whole team and like killed them all.
I was gonna say I always really enjoy watching Cho'Gath pop off. It's one of the more fun champions to watch. Just
As a Cho'Gath player, yes.
yeah, it's so much fun to watch Cho'Gath pop off. Like all of a sudden your carry just has no health because they pressed R next to you. Like it's just fun to watch.
One of the things I did want to point out, and Brian touched on, is that Hungaroni, if to give him as much credit as he deserves, I think saved 3 lanes from being decimated or really just losing out for the rest of the fight. I really want to hear the analyst and Anna's opinion about Hungaroni and his play and what kept him in the game.
Yeah, like he was everywhere. Steven had a lane phase that like went south a couple times. Hungaroni was able to come in and swing it back in Steven's favor, so that really like saved their top side. Cho'Gath was gank mid like almost immediately after, and like Sejuani was able to like flash over, kill Mayan, and then save Cho'Gath. And then on the bottom river side, like he was a pivotal part in like the team fights that really like put momentum back in their favor too. So like he really saved all 3 lanes and farmed like pretty efficiently while doing so.
Yeah.
Which was really impressive. If you had to pick an MVP from this game, honestly, it's a little hard pressed to like pick between Oliver, even though Oliver decimated team fights, to or versus like Hungarodi, who just like won the early game. So both of them were really impressive. Everybody on that team was really impressive in team fights. Steven was able to get backline. You'll watch Ashe in a lot of the clips, like just free hitting people. There's a specific fight where Ashe just like 1v1 ran down the Kai'Sa, who was like pushing him around in laning phase. Like, yeah, just a lot of big plays and a lot of like proactiveness on that team, and I think that's why they won.
Very
Yeah.
awesome. Let's go ahead and get into our next matchup, which is going to be Second Breakfast versus PIO, with a Second Breakfast win, no less. Let's go ahead and get the clip going as well.
Yeah, this game was definitely caught us off guard with Nathan swapping over to support and definitely taking the fight to bot lane to the detriment of Mooney. But Second Breakfast was able to like bounce back hard off the pressure with Misa just
Whew.
going ham in that
Ooh.
game on the top side of the map.
That looks like a 9-0 scoreline right now. That's a Fed Kindred.
And Teddy going in a little late. No chance.
He does get the shutdown though. Very key.
Yeah, Blitzcrank with the R. Oh baby.
Yeah.
Kindred saving it there as well as we see. Could have died. That would have been the first shutdown to open that up. But Kindred using that ult to save him at the last moment is just really wonderful execution, which I don't think we've seen from Second Breakfast. I don't know if y'all have a different opinion about that.
I think in their victories they've looked pretty good, honestly. I just think they're inconsistent right now. It seems like when Varrock like pops off or like has a good early game, they can transition. But if he gets a little bit stuck, they have trouble converting into or playing from behind and getting a lead.
Varrock's definitely coming back into form though.
Yeah,
he's like really dominant in their wins, and like he needs to continue doing that and continue snowballing games before they can stall. So if they can do that, they look like a good team for sure.
I'm gonna see if I can get a hot take from Anna, and you don't have to answer this, but I'm kind of curious about your opinion about a carry player such as Nathan going into the bot lane as a Blitzcrank versus being a carry as a support. How is that different? How does that affect the lane?
As a Blitzcrank, I think I would have to take the rest of the lane into account, but it is a little scary. Although if you go into the game with a good solid plan and a good matchup, I mean, just play to your strengths, don't take any silly fights, which I'm fairly guilty of sometimes. And if you survive, if you make it out of lane, then you can punish that switch. Because it is a carry that's not playing support.
Throwback to BTL Season 5 where I swapped to support for Nick Mead.
True.
We did win a lot more after that, so it can work. But yeah, the dynamic of the team, like Anna said, definitely changes.
The dynamic definitely changing is something that we saw was very interesting. Let's go on to the next game, which is going to be our final game, which is THD versus or True Art Destiny versus the Student Council. A little one-sided, maybe a little one-sided, one would say. Let's go ahead and roll that clip. And really, really impressive fight here.
Yeah, this is before it became one-sided.
Yeah.
And this is probably like one of the more pivotal fights.
Yeah, I think here we back off from the fight entirely, just to collapse on people who overextend. So we get one kill, and we were like, okay, we're fine with this trade.
Ginny with the sick EW combo that actually chunks a lot of people.
Yeah, which is why we all immediately back off, and then she's overextended and gets caught out.
Yeah.
And that is one of, like you were saying, Adam, before, asking, like, calling, making a proper play. That's immediately one of us calling, hey, she's left out, and all of us turning around to collapse on.
Yeah, once you eliminate Ginny, the rest of the team does no damage and no business being there. I think that
Sure.
really is a pivotal moment.
Yeah, I think Ginny was just hard to deal with for a lot of that game. Like there was a first early Herald fight where Ginny and Man Puppet just kind of healed through all of our damage and killed like 2 of us. Um, yeah, I think like it was just Ginny being this like really big rock in mid lane. And eventually like thankfully we were able to build the healing reduction, and Ash with the board could shoot through like the gigantic tanks in Mundo and kind of Swain. But yeah, up to that point, I think Ginny had a lot of impact.
Ginny would definitely be my choice of MVP from our side.
Yeah, I mean, let's ask Adam. How do you feel like going up against Gerard Destiny? Like they're, I mean, one of the strongest teams, if not the strongest team right now. So, what was your game plan going into it?
Talking from a personal standpoint, I think that we were a little bit intimidated, and I think we kind of, I think I did a panic pick in Jin, like Kevin Comfort, where I think there were better choices to face against the comp, especially because Brian and Hugs and Unicorns really work well together, and then Hugs and Unicorns on any sort of tank means that a pick like Jin is just useless, right? So I think that they have a reputation of being really strong, and also I think a reputation of being very smart, and that I think is gonna help them out, especially in the best of threes, where I think that they're gonna have a lot of pressure just from the draft onwards. A little scary, but hoping, we learned a little bit from the game, and we're hoping to come back stronger for the last 2 games of the regular season. Compliments to you all.
I mean, you did come into the game after our first loss, so
Yeah,
I'm
that
still
was
a
never
rabid TSC fanboy, so I still believe.
that was never gonna go well.
Yeah. There was some like montage trading before that game. Oof. So let's go ahead and let's get into our first predictions. We have a overwhelming choice of Nutter Better Scuttlers versus XO, which I'm actually somewhat surprised with. But let's go ahead and get someone's input. Anybody?
Sure. I mean, I'm on Nutter Butter Scuttlers, so I picked them.
Fair.
fair point.
No, I think genuinely, like, I think this last week was a misstep just because we were missing one of our main voices during team fights and also champion select. So I think we just had a misstep and we are kind of just throwing last week out. And I think we've come a long way and we're looking pretty solid and we're pretty happy with where we're at as a team and we're just going to continue to grow on that. And yeah.
I mean, we've also just put you on the analyst curse of all 5 of us voting for you.
Love it.
And EXO being the notorious team to win against the analyst curse.
Yep. But that's fine. It's fine. I'm gonna demote the 2 captains. They're gonna be petty officers, so it's gonna be
Oh,
fine.
damn.
It's gonna be petty officer Javier.
This was a harder one to predict, even though it's like across the board, because I think NBS, even though they lost, like they looked really good in the week before last week, where they had like their new full roster with Darren in the top lane top lane, bot lane, and Will in the top lane, and with their new role swaps, they actually look pretty clean. I expect with a full roster they'll look clean, and they're an up-and-coming team for sure. On the other hand, I mean, EXO just came off a win that was a really hard fought. They showed a lot of good qualities there. Javier picked Oriana. Like, oh my lord, who saw that coming? Something
I don't
that
think
wasn't a
anyone
troll
did.
pick.
I literally said their win condition was him pulling something out of his bag of tricks, and he goes Oriana. So thanks, Javier.
Yeah. So, they got some traditional stuff up there too. So I don't know. I think it'll be an interesting match, but NBS I think has a higher ceiling right now with Limch in their bot lane, and Will in their top lane. So I think I'll favor them. But I wouldn't be surprised if EXO and the captains get a 3rd win on the books.
I'm looking forward to that Kindred mid matchup.
Very awesome. Let's go into our next game, which is going to be the Good Boys versus MBB, which is pretty contested, even though Good Boys did just overtake the Acid Rabbits. Let's go ahead and start with Anna. What's the reasoning for choosing MBB versus the Good Boys?
For this matchup, I think that MBB has some flexibility in how they play things, so I see that as some adaptability to make the best out of what they're facing. I think that they can pull that off. I've seen a couple of their games. I've been very impressed. I know Avis can probably do quite a bit of work for the team.
Yeah, I as a person that also voted for MBB, part of my rationale is Elena's right next to me, so I don't really have a choice. But another part of my rationale is that I think the Good Boys obviously is coming off of a big win, and MBB is also coming off of a win. But MBB's win was against MBS, who I think is objectively right now a weaker team than AR. Plus, was missing like their jungler. GB came off a full strength win against AR, which is really impressive. So like, I think I would be inclined to favor GB. However, I think MBB has like the right tools and stuff in place. They've been practicing a lot, and I think they'll have some strategies that can counter the type of aggression that GB relies on. So, yeah, I think it'll be a close game. That's probably when you ask everybody, what's your most, or your favorite game, or your the game you're looking forward to the most, it's probably that one.
Yeah. For me, I voted Good Boys because we saw the last game, even though their bot lane fell behind, they were able to still be relevant in the game. And I think that with that in mind, they'll still be able to hold off MBB's crazy bot lane.
Yeah.
I think I think they're one of the best teams in the league right now. They just obviously came off beating an undefeated team, and they've looked really good. And with the showing that it's not just Steven showed this last game, especially, I think that makes them a really, really strong team, which is why I'm picking them over MBB.
For sure. I think, interestingly enough, I think the difference between MBB and GB, or not GB, AR, in terms of like how they played against GB here, I think AR had a bunch of kills in the lane phase on the Kai'Sa, but like really struggled to break out of the lane phase and break open their bot lane. In a world where MBB can break out and break open their bot lane, I think they can accelerate pace a lot better than AR was able to here. A lot of the AR GB game was like a lot of stall, and GB kind of like took those advantages, had this Cho'Gath that was getting bigger and bigger, and then used their mid-game spiking team, because literally everybody in that team would spike. When Cho'Gath has his slow items, Olaf is a huge mid-game powerhouse. Even Ashe plays really well on 2 item, unlike Kai'Sa, who needs 3. They kind of, they use their power spikes correctly and were able to like really find their openings and be proactive in the mid game. But I think MBB, judging from the last game against MBS and stuff like that, they were able to really break out their bot lane and kind of get things out of control. And even though Kai'Sa was big in the GB game, she wasn't out of control at any point. So yeah, there's a world, and I think this world is a world that could happen where somebody gets out of control in the MVP game, and then we have a really scrappy one on our hands. So, but yeah, should be a good game. I think this is a pretty 50-50 matchup. So, looking forward to it.
Let's start taking a look at the next game and our predictions, which is going to be the Student Council versus Second Breakfast with the split vote once again. Analysts not going for the all-ins anymore.
We gotta get those points, man.
Gotta get those points. It's starting to get into the end of the regular season. Brian is still very much ahead with 4. Analysts also doing pretty good. Me, not so much. Don't trust my predictions. But let's go ahead and start with Colin. Why are you choosing the Student Council?
I think they're a really good team, honestly. Like, they ran into a chainsaw in oh my goodness, I just blanked on your team name and I'm so sorry. THD. They ran into a chainsaw in THD. There was no way they were going to lose 2 games in a row, and they didn't. But outside of that, the Student Council is a really, really good team. Ginny is a really good shot caller and a really good game planner. Digital Feeling is a really good ADC who's been like pushing it forward and becoming better and better throughout the season. So like they're just a really good team, and I think that I think it takes a really good performance out of Bear Rock right now for Second Breakfast to consistently win, and I see more paths to victory for the Student Council.
Yep. This is a really hard one too. Actually, this is my most hyped matchup. I don't know, man. This is a really good one. Both teams are 3-4. They're sitting on the same record, and the craziest thing is both teams are like identical teams. They have a really strong top side, really strong jungler. Their mid laner is like pretty consistently solid, and then their bot lanes are like kind of their weak links, right? These teams look identical. So it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a bloodbath. Like, I voted Second Breakfast because I think Misa is starting to recover a lot of his form, and Misa in form looks really threatening. Manpup in form looks really good too, but I think Misa right now is like at his peak, and at Manpuppet's peak. I think Misa right now is the better jungler, and he's kind of running table on a lot of these teams, getting Mayo really ahead, and Mayo is starting to like. I think Mayo is one of the best top laners in the league at like taking a lead and trying to snowball it, and like like just make it something insurmountable. I think they're just a strong team. And then to be totally honest, like I think a lot of teams, some teams in the past have tried to like abuse the Second Vector spot lane. I don't think TSC's bot lane can necessarily abuse them. I think it will be like a close matchup. I think TSC's is like slightly favored, but it shouldn't be to the level where like the game is snowballed through the bot lane. If that's the case, I think Misa will have a lot of foothold in this game. So, I mean, that said, I think Ginny, personally, I think Ginny is one of the best mid laners in the league this season. She's been really good. She's held pressure against pretty much everybody she's played with. Been a mid-game threat in every game. She's been by far the most consistent member on that team. So if she can stay that way, and the rest of the team can kind of find their footing and find their own consistency, then I think TSC is also really strong. I've been the most rabid TSC fanboy, so yeah.
And yet, in
hopefully
their moment when they need you,
yeah, in their
you
moment of
abandoned
need,
them. They
moment of need,
abandoned them.
I saw Misa's Kindred and I was swayed. It was probably the Spirit Blossom
Yeah,
skin.
that Kindred was terrifying.
Yeah.
All right, that's all that needs to be said about that game. It was very exciting. Mirror matchup is definitely something very interesting. Well, let's go ahead and get into our next matchup, which is going to be Deep Dive versus Acid Rabbits, with the majority choosing Acid Rabbits. Anna, what's your reasoning for choosing Deep Dive?
Well, first of all, second of all, we've already beaten them in a scrim, so.
Oh. Wow, leaks.
Scrimbucks
Wow.
coming out.
No, I think
Iris?
it's gonna be
Iris, is that you?
No, it's probably gonna be a really close game. But I think from what we've seen and what we've worked on as a team in the past, I feel fairly confident that we can take this one home.
Cool.
Oh yeah.
What is your reasoning, Adam, since you're not on Deep Dive?
I think the morale of Acid Rabbits is going to take a turn, like a slight dip. And I think if they underestimate DD, I think they're just gonna run away with the win. But if their mental, their mental status comes back and really isn't affected by it, I think they have a pretty good shot. But doing a really unexpected loss, I really tend to find has a huge effect. THD didn't have that, but I think maybe AR will. It'd be a little bit more dicey for them, so I'm thinking DD might grab it.
Sure. I'm going to repeat the exact same thing I said last week. You have an undefeated team who just lost their first game of the season, and I don't think they are going to lose a second right afterwards. I think they're going to work really hard to avoid that. I think they were probably very proud of their undefeated record. I have no knowledge of that, but I'm going to say that they were probably pretty proud of their undefeated record, especially after just taking down the other undefeated team. So I would imagine they're probably working very hard to fix what happened in the last game, and I don't see them dropping a second game in a row.
Fair enough. I think that's what needs to be said. Let's go on to the next matchup. which is going to be a full THD versus PIO. If someone could quickly give us a solid reasoning for why the entire analyst desk thought this way.
I sadly, without trying to give too much compliments, think that THG is the strongest team in the league right now. I think that they have carry potential out of all of their positions. I think they have some of the smartest drafts in the league, and they prep really, really well, and they always have a different game plan going against whatever team they're coming up against, which is impressive. And I think they're really determined to try and win it all this year. I think their players are really hungry, and yeah. But I mean, I just think they're one of the best teams in the league. So, if not the best. Spoiler for all my predictions coming up, it's going to be THD. So, yes. Unless something drastically changes, I am picking THD every week.
Yeah, I think the discipline that I've seen in practicing in how they play, how you play each game is something that is going to be on display in this game too, in this matchup.
So Anna's saying that they're the next team that's going to stop us, basically.
Yeah, we are the final showdown, I guess. So yes.
Yeah, we don't want to underestimate PO. I mean, Nathan's on that team, and like, if this game gets too late, then there's not very many safety valves that are better than the Nathan safety valve. And then also Anne-Marie has, if you don't, if you remember the Sivir game against what team was it?
MBB.
Can you remember? MBB. Yeah, she popped off in that game even after a really rough lane phase. If she can get a good draft and not be put on that, then like, you know, she's been putting Sivir and Kai'Sa 2 games in a row, which, you know, have like laning phases that are pretty support reliant and pretty reliant on scaling. In a world where she gets a strong draft and she gets off the ground early, like they'll have a lot of threats. PO is 4-3 for a reason. So, and some of those, honestly, some of those losses are like Nathan playing support, like Blitzcrank and that Camille game in jungle, and like, you know, like. Could this team possibly be better than 4-3 if they didn't troll with some of these drafts? Who knows? So here's hoping that Nathan plays Blitzcrank against us. He won't. He never plays the same champion twice in a row. But
Gonna play the next hook.
yeah, I think PO is definitely hiding some strength that they're saving for the playoffs for sure.
Yeah.
We got some really spicy questions from the Twitch, so let's go ahead right into them while we still have a bit of time. First question for everybody: what best of 3 series besides your own team are you most excited to see? So team wise,
like, ideally.
Yeah.
I'll go first, I guess. True Heart Destiny versus not Acid Rabbits. True Heart Destiny versus the Good Boys. I think would be a banger of a series. I think, as I said, I think the Good Boys are really, really good. I think that True Heart Destiny is really, really good. And I think that the added rivalry of Steven versus Brian is a super fun little mini game in the middle of it. So I think that matchup would be super fun, and it wouldn't shock me if that went 3 games and something crazy happened, and it could swing either way.
I think for me, it'd be, we're gonna see a preview of it this week, but I think TSC versus SB. These teams are built in a very similar way, and teams that are built in a very similar way tend to fight on the same sides of the map and want to win in very similar ways. And with your win cons like mashing their heads against each other, I feel like it's, you know, a bloodbath is inevitable. So like those are the 2 teams I really want to see go at it.
For me, I'd say NBS versus MBB. I think that their last game should not be taken into consideration. Like the proper teams lined up together, I think would be in a head-to-head so even that the games will be fun to watch.
I went 4-1. I don't know what you're talking. Yeah, I think that would. I think we're both pretty even. Like we were pretty hyped up for the match, and it was an unfortunate circumstance. But I think it would have been a really, really fun game to watch if we were at full strength.
Yeah, honestly, you were pretty far ahead in lane phase 2, to be honest. So yeah,
I was very fed. I wanted to carry, but
so I think you know, I think that game definitely had some lost potential. Hopefully we'll see a rerun of it in playoffs.
Yeah, I'll
And-
pick Lux again.
Anna, what is your take?
I kind of want to see DD versus MBB just because, simply put, I wasn't there for the first round, so maybe for the second
That's
round.
fair. Are you just gonna camp Joe? You're gonna roam mid every single time you can.
I can't disclose under penalty of death.
Under penalty of playing Yumi.
A quick
Yes.
question. We have actually not seen Lilia or Yone. What's up with that?
Hmm.
I'm telling you, Javier's bringing it out, man. Like I
I mean,
like.
I think. Yeah,
It's
I think
probably-
Lilia is really good, actually.
Yeah, I think Lily is. It would not shock me if Javier picks it in our game this week.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody give a phone call to Adam, tell him to start preparing things. I don't know.
All right. I think
I'm surprised about that though.
Yone for me seems a little bit risky. I think I feel like he's better at top lane than mid, but mid has a better snowball potential. And I have experienced a snowballed Yone. Been on the receiving end of that. That's not pretty.
Yeah, but I mean, like LCS teams aren't picking Yone, so you know.
They
I mean, they're
can't.
I know.
Yeah.
Brian,
Yeah.
ruining my
Yeah.
joke. I bet you they're not even gonna pick him like all the way through Worlds. Like I bet you don't even see Yone in professional play until next year.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Yone, to be honest, like not that many BTL games go that deep. Like the average game time for most teams like averages between like 29 minutes and I think the longest is like 36 minutes. Yeah, something like that.
Let me check my numbers again.
Yep, 36 minutes. The team with the fastest game time is THD, and the team with the longest game time is MBB.
It's is it MBB? Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No,
THD
it's
and
actually
MBB.
PO on average.
On average, the longest.
Yeah.
one?
Yeah.
Wait.
Dan
Oh yeah, by like
Statman.
yeah, Dan the Statman by 0.09. There you go. All right, you're right. But yeah, I think games, even though those are like like not short games necessarily, they just haven't gone that long for Yone to like for a competitive team to build around the Yone yet. So yeah, we'll see. Like and PO is the team that goes long. Like everybody knows that they like to go late. Nathan likes to go late. He's been playing like Nasus and Kassadin and stuff like that. So if a team did pick them, I would expect like that team to consider it. But most teams like our team where we end games at like 29 minutes or something like that, Yone just doesn't have that outsized of an effect. And there are picks that we pick to try to snowball games earlier and as fast as possible kind of thing. So
Yep.
yeah, but I mean that said, I think he's a pretty hard carry pick if he gets late, not even late, like once he gets like 3 item spike, he's pretty scary. So Lilia on the other end, I think is just good all game. So like I think Lilia we should be seeing as junglers and top laners start figuring her out a little bit more.
One last question, and we're going to condense this. This is from Jack Limestone. Originally, it was most exciting player in each role. Let's get it to just the most exciting player to watch in BTL. Let's go ahead and start with Anna.
What the heck? It's hard
Hmm.
question to answer.
Yeah, that is very difficult.
Ow.
Yeah, Brian, mute your mic.
What happened?
I
You're breathing normally. What the heck?
I'm definitely looking forward to
I
facing
think it's
off
the fan.
against Elena at some point in the bot lane. I don't know what most exciting, but I want to see how my supporting matches up against her supporting.
Dan's.
Damn.
Let's see. Out of all these people, okay, I can't vote for anybody on my team.
Yeah, no
I-
team votes.
I really like Steven's play. I think he's been able to make some mechanical outplays that I don't think it's possible. And the only reason I believe it is because I'm seeing it on screen.
Very awesome, Colin.
Yeah, Steven's pretty good. I'm gonna go with somebody else. I'm gonna go with Misa. I think Misa can be the best jungler in the league, and he's starting to find his his stride again. And like when he finds his stride, like he can hard carry. Like he carried my team last year, quite frankly, to a championship or close to a championship, the championship match. And I think he's like if he pops off, if he like can stay strong all the way through playoffs, that team is going to be really hard to beat. And he's definitely like one of the harder carries in the league.
Brian.
I guess because she's next to me and could strangle me, I'm gonna say Elena. But no, actually though, Elena. Don't take it from me. Take it from say Bananas. After their match, where Pio actually won and Elena was playing Pyke, Bananas said, and I think this is close to a quote, but Bananas said that Elena was the only issue during lane phase, the only issue during mid game, and the only issue during late game. Their entire draft, their entire preparation prepared for Elena. And in game, they only struggled with Elena. In some games, like I think, like she hasn't been able to like show her final form kind of thing, but we already know what the final form looks like. It's a championship winning form, and I think like as the primary catalyst for that team, there are games like that Pyke game where honestly it's like pretty 1v9 from the support position. So I think I'll go with Elena.
Adam.
I'm actually gonna go with like maybe a kind of an unexpected bit. I actually would choose like Noe. I think that Noe is every time I see them on screen, I'm just like, all right, here we go, and I'm just anticipating what they're gonna pull up and how they're gonna affect the game. It's kind of a sleeper, I think, because I don't think they get talked about very often. But it's for me when they're on the screen, I'm just like, oh, I'm ready for something to happen.
I do notice that.
I gotta say, this made me miss my team from last season so much because we just talked about 3 of my former teammates. God, the good times.
Well, with that, let's go ahead and go to standings. And we have Acid Rabbits and True Our Destiny with both 6-1. Panic in Our Oceans and Milwaukee Bucks, baby. The Good Boys all at 4-3. The Student Council, Second Breakfast at 3-4. That's pretty awesome by Second Breakfast. And Nutter Better Scuttlers, Executive Orders at 2-5, and then Deep Dive at 1-6. Let's go ahead and get to our schedule as well. With Tuesday being with Nutter Better Scuttlers versus EXO at 8 p.m. On Wednesday, we have Panic in Our Oceans versus THG at 9 p.m. On Thursday, we have a doubleheader of the Student Council and Second Breakfast at 7 p.m. And then 2 hours later, we have Deep Dive versus Acid Rabbits at 9 p.m. And then on Friday, we have our final matchup, which is Good Boys versus Milwaukee Bucks, baby, at 7 p.m. It looks like it's a full week, guys, with 1 day of rest tomorrow.
Yeah, it's always good to have games every week, right? Or every day.
Absolutely. We were very close to having a triple on Thursday.
I saw.
Yeah.
Who would have been
to be exhausted on Thursday.
It would have been very, very rough.
Gotta spread the BTL love across the week.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Brian, Colin, Daniel, thank you so much for your input for this week.
You're welcome. My input is needed.
No problem.
So.
And then Anna, thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with us and giving us your input.
You are muted, Anna.
I think we had lost connection with her.
Is she back? Maybe? Anna.
With technical difficulties, I'll say you're welcome on for Anna, and really appreciate having them on. And thank you all for the questions and all the Twitch viewers. Please spread the video around and invite anybody to watch it. But from us to y'all, thank you so much for joining us, and see y'all on the Rift.